And just like that, 11 hours later, I'm back. In the same time that you sleep every night. Us casters were still here working, late into the evening, burning that midnight oil. Wow, yesterday in SMITE Masters, every single game went the limit. We had 3 best of 3s, all of those went 3. And thanks to the meta, all of those 3-game sets had 3 35-plus minute games. Niflheim and I lost our minds over a 52-minute game of SMITE yesterday. That was the first game in that best of 3 set. Even our best of 1s went the maximum number of games yesterday. And so we get to go home, we take a little break, we get to sit down and rest our weary heads for a little while, maybe pet our dogs, remind our families that we exist. But that only lasts one brief, fleeting moment. Because where are we? Well, we're back. We're here in studio one more time after a 12-hour broadcast for SMITE Masters, day number 3, which starts right now.
For eons, I have governed heaven and earth. Man or god, each is heard. Their anger, their pain, and in their time of need, I rise. Alona! So when the day comes that they ascend to the heavens, the rewards that await are not of silver or gold, but jade.
Happy Saturday, SMITE fans. Welcome into day number 3 of SMITE Spring Masters. A lengthy day, to say the least, yesterday. Every single set going the distance. Even our best of 1s, as Dave let us know earlier, going the maximum number of games. But the games themselves, quite lengthy as well yesterday. And 12 hours after a 12-hour broadcast, we are back for day number 3 of SMITE Masters, and we do it all over again. But today, the winners of the previous 2 days now funnel themselves into this group. Same format moving forward. We'll send 2 more teams on to our 4th day of this weekend in a little bit of time. My name is Dolson. Ro is with me. Ro, you got some sleep, you've taken a breather, and we're right back for more SMITE.
Yeah, you were in charge yesterday, and you were very nice to send me home early, which is great. I got to miss the last set, but look, what I went home, cooked dinner, I watched it from home anyway.
It's probably my if technically I was in charge of our little group, that's probably why we went so long yesterday. Somehow, something I did.
So I can blame Hindu Man then, because he put you in charge.
Technically, yes. The buck
Fine
stops
by me.
with him, because he's the one who said, well, he was gone, it's me.
Yep.
And so, yes, I think it all ends up landing at Hindu's feet after a day like that. Please don't fire me. I like my job. Thank you very much, Hindu. But a exciting day of SMITE, regardless of a 12-hour day or not. And that funnels 2 more teams into this bracket. A couple of the winners from day 1. It's been a whole lot of time since we've seen them. The Wardens and the Hounds, the Wardens and Hex Mambo, I believe, from day number 1.
It was the Hounds.
It was the Hounds. I got it right the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Hex Mambo played so few games yesterday that they ended up moving on.
They were long ones, though.
They were long ones. The Wardens and the Hounds, that's right, from day number 1 move on. Wargs and Hex Mambo from yesterday fill into this bracket now. And if you've become familiar with the bracket, congrats. You now know how today is going to work. We're going to get a best of 1 between the Wardens and the Wargs, and a best of 1 between the Hounds and the Mambo. The winner of those will play. The loser of those will play later on, and we will funnel forward from that point on. So let's talk a little bit, Ro, about the first team here in this matchup. The Kaolin Wardens saw them on day number 1. They made pretty quick work of their opponents on day 1. Everyone in day 1, if I remember correctly, had 2-0s. No contested sets that day. Wardens over the Ravens and Wardens over the Gladiators in their first best of 3.
Yeah.
Relentless won Sino, Maswal, Gino, and Griff. And I think so much of this team in North America was, when are they going to start kind of nose to the grindstone, hitting the ground running? And we saw a little bit of that here this weekend.
Yeah, look, they're the team that gives me hope for short games because they were the ones that were playing most aggressive. We saw when they got those trebuchets, they were sending them out straight away, you know. I don't know if that was just a product of maybe the teams that they were up against, but we can see here it was a close game against the Gladiators, yet still, 11 kills on each side. That's action. That's action we're looking for, not the slow games that we saw from yesterday. I mean, look, both are fun in their own rights. You can be a little analytical in the long games and prepare for the long team fights in the late game, but, seeing this aggression out of Sino, for example, was really great. He was playing, I think, Mercury and Nemesis, and he built the Executioner. He would call these objectives. We had Trelly yesterday giving us the Fire Giant timer of like 23 minutes. That's the time you want to kill that Fire Giant by before the enemy team gets into the late game and it really stalls out. Sino, I think the Wardens were the only team so far in the tournament to get a Fire Giant before 20 minutes, and they were getting a second one by I think 23, 24. So that's the kind of exciting stuff we can look for out of this team. Agreed.
There's two different styles of pacing and two different styles of exciting Smite to be had with those different paces of games. The Wardens, the team from North America, likes to push the envelope a little bit. I look forward to Moswell and some of his picks here today as well. Vulcan, Opwash, and Hell were the three that we saw in day number 1 of this event. Certainly something you feel like the Wargs, the other team here in this matchup, have spent a little bit of time preparing for. And when I look towards the jungle, Sarpei for the Wargs, the jungler, I wonder how much overlap there could be with Sino here, because it really feels like Nemesis has started to take over the jungle meta a little bit. We saw some Nem. Hunbats has looked good for Sarpei as well. Do you think there is some overlap between the two god pools?
Small amount of overlap as well. I think, maybe they'll ban away the Nemesis. They don't want Sino to play it. Maybe the Mercury they can ban away, but Sarpei was definitely great on the Hunbats especially. Maybe that's something Wardens can ban away. But I think it's a close matchup between the two. They had kind of different jobs both days, whereas Sino was like commanding his team into doing objectives, and Sarpei was more commanding team fights.
My goodness, and the up and down day that Kana, or the up and down final set that Kana had, where you're starting off a very lengthy set in game number 1 with a double kill in lane. This game would end up going like 52 minutes or something like that in game number 1. But Kana and Sarpei took over the show. The Hunbats, the initiation was looking fantastic from the Wargs. And I don't think we can ignore the fact that the one player who's not here, Angry, mid laner for the Wargs, playing from Romania, I believe, and they're in the set for Angry ended at like
7 or
6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. Obviously got a little bit of sleep because broadcast is now starting 12 or so hours after that set ended. So sleep, yes, but I do wonder, Ro, if there could be some weird sleep schedules going on. I hope Angry was able to get some good rest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, hopefully he prepared for this because he knew he wasn't coming, unfortunately. But again, for example, Wardens have been able to watch Wargs all day yesterday, so they get that time to prepare, whereas Wargs, they finished their game 12 hours ago. They need to sleep, eat, and prepare for their game.
That's a good point.
So definitely a harder job for them, but I guess that's the punishment for being the runner-up instead of being, the first place out of that group.
Yeah, Wargs not looking too worried about it, though. A squad that showed us some good Smite yesterday, and I'm excited to watch now these two styles clash, because I really do think, Ro, for maybe the first time in the sets we've seen so far this weekend, because we this is now the third time I'm going to bring it up with you over the last couple of days, where I wondered if we would see these stylistic clashes, and we have seen some, but it really has felt like a lot of teams sort of figuring out the meta. The games have kind of gone long anyway. This feels like might be the first time we see a very fast-paced team in the Wardens with a slower-paced team in the Wargs.
Absolutely. I don't think Wargs are as slow as what Mambos were, for example, but they were inspired by that team, like that type of strategy, I should say. But Wardens have seen that, so I would imagine they just pile on the early game even more, and they can take it to the Wargs before they can get to the late game. But at the same time, I didn't get the gist from the Wargs that was the strategy they wanted to play from the get-go. It just seems like they were adjusting to the meta of yesterday, and then they just, kind of adopted that strategy and played it to their best ability.
I have my eyes on the Hunters in this matchup here as well, as we have all weekend long. Griff up against Spudio, I think, will be fun. Spudio showed me yesterday that even in games where the kills aren't flowing for the ADCs, there are still some very effective moments to be had a little bit later on. Both of the duo lanes really need to step up for these squads today. Pred's so strong for the Wargs, and then, of course, Gino, the support for the Kaolin Wardens, has put a strong foot forward here as of late. Support meta, talk to me a little bit about that. Gino's God Pool being what it is and Preds being what it is, what have you seen from the supports? Lots of Ymir, Terra, Yamoj has still been pretty popular.
Yeah, kind of similar for both of them, actually. Just being that utility gods, or being those utility gods for their teams and setting up for those team fights. Both of them getting aggressive in the early game as well. So I think in terms of stylistically of fast play versus slow play, this is a role that's actually well matched and kind of, mirror each other in that regard.
Right.
There was a decent amount of fighting in duo lanes, but it's not easy to get those kills anymore. But nobody's really shying away from it, which is great to see.
Does feel like as well what jungle picks we end up seeing could dictate how much fighting we do or don't see, especially like Mercury. If you get a Mercury in this matchup, feels like one of the gods that has really been able to facilitate that level 5 sonic boom right away. We're starting to get some scrapping, some fighting happening a little bit earlier on in some of these fights. And so I think with that, you look towards Sarpei, you look towards Sino, things like that to make impacts earlier on here in these games. Solo lane as well, very interesting in this matchup. Kana with some ups and downs yesterday. Relentless One had some good games for the Wardens on Thursday, however long ago that was when we saw them. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about the X's and O's of the solo lane as well. But for now, the support for the Wargs, Preds, joins me for the pre-game interview. Preds, long day yesterday. Both of your best of threes go all 3 games. We get out of here at, I don't know, it's probably, 11 o'clock our time, something like that. Mm-hmm. How's the recovery for a team? And now you get the earliest set here today. How's the team feeling energy-wise?
Well, for us, we're fine. We got to bed at 12.
Right.
We're chilling. When we got back to the hotel, Angry sent us a picture of what it looked like outside, and it was bright.
It was bright.
It was morning again.
Because I was wondering how it would be for Angry. Because for Angry it was 6 in the morning or something like that when the set ended.
6,
and technically it's been 12 hours for Angry as well. I assume you've spoken with Angry some this morning. Was he able to get some relaxation, some rest prior to the set?
Yeah, he had a good 5 hours in.
Good. All right, good. Do you think, and that's actually a unique conversation Ro and I were having, do you think there's an advantage to be had in that? You guys played a pretty long day of SMITE yesterday, but played yesterday versus the Wardens, who had a little bit of downtime from their sets earlier on this weekend. Do you think there's anything to be gained there, or not much?
Well, we played a lot of SMITE.
You did,
which is good. We got some good luck practicing. I think we're pretty warm now. So
good. And kind of final thoughts on how the meta has gone here. It feels like the meta in general has slowed down. Wardens and what we saw from them on Thursday still like to speed things up. Yeah. Do you think you guys have the tools to slow down their game plan and stick to your game plan today?
We're going to try our best.
Try your best.
Yeah, we'll try our best with it, yeah.
Well, look, no matter what, you get a best of 1, then a best of 3 at least later on today. Excited to see what you guys have, and best of luck.
Yep, thank you.
So well-rested are the Wargs. Need to be.
Angry got 5 hours, but yeah, sure. For
yeah,
a gamer, sometimes
I was going to say,
good.
in gamer hours, is 5 hours is solid, right?
Fair point. Yeah, but during the daylight, I'd call that 4.
I suppose Angry was always, and this was the point you made, always going to be, maybe a little bit reverse jet lagged, where Angry was the one staying in the same place, but sleep schedule totally flipped around.
To be fair, I remember my first tournament, I was sleep deprived as well, and I think that's when I actually played best. So maybe that's just what we're used to. We're used to the 3 a.m., 4 a.m.
That's
queues.
when your brain breaks down and
that's
it's
right.
Instincts take over.
Yeah, it's only SMITE. That's it. Nothing else is working.
That's funny. So you do hope that the Wargs were able to get some good rest. According to Preds, does seem like they were able to do so. I can't wait to watch these two teams clash. And of course, as I've mentioned, this is just the best of 1. The winner will move on to the winner's best of 3. The losers down to the loser's best of 3 as well. So good news is, regardless, both of these two teams will be able to play some further best of 3s here moving on forward into today. So I think, Ro, now you can start to look at picks and bans, draft strategy, things like that a little bit more so here for these teams. Because some teams yesterday, it feels like we've seen, and really Magic Feet comes to mind for the Storm. Jungle picks have been left later on in the draft for teams like that. Sino, Maswell, they're so flexible here for this Wardens team. The X's and O's between these two squads should be interesting.
Yeah, and I think Wardens is a little harder to predict, right? They only played, 3 games total, because they won their first one and then 2-0'd the next, and they were just done with the day and skipping to today. So, we only saw...
What do we know about them?
Yeah, we saw Sino, I think, play 2 gods out of the 3 games. So I believe, from memory, it's so long ago, just because we had such a long game yesterday.
Yep.
I think he played 2 Nemesis and 1 Mercury game, so really just focusing on the high objective DPS. And you mentioned Mercury before, getting those ganks off at level 5, and that's kind of his style, just to get the ball rolling so he can start commanding the map.
I think this is interesting as well. And just prior to the interview, I mentioned solo lane. If I look at the last 6 games that Kana has played, all of them here at SMITE Masters, Odin, 3 games of King Arthur, Geb, Bastet, no Zhongqi, no Baron in there. And then for Relentless One, again, we've only seen 3 games out of the Wardens, with the best of 1 and then a 2-0 and the best of 3. All 3 were Amaterasu. And so we haven't seen the Barons and the Zhongquis for both of these solo laners yet. Now picks and bans, maybe some are taken away, things like that. But the battle over the solo lane meta could be interesting here as well.
Yeah, I mean, it might be more traditional meta. Like, this whole patch leading up to as soon as we saw the patch notes, right, everyone was saying, oh, Warriors are going to struggle. But, I mean, so far they've done great this tournament. I think we saw one kind of rough King Arthur game early on, but you know, then Connor blew it away with King Arthur and kind of carried his team.
Right.
Same with the Relentless One on the Amaterasu, going with Sino, calling these objectives and focusing on that objective DPS and buffs for his team was great. He was out-rotating his opponent, which I believe were playing Guardians and Mages. So, having that pressure and having that faster rotation and forcing the issue earlier in the game has worked really well for them. So I think Wargs are going to have to adjust.
Yeah, I do suppose, Ro, that some of that might go into what we were talking about with, pacing of game. Yeah. Where do you feel like if you're putting a Baron or a Zhongqi over in the solo lane, is that an idea that you're maybe slowing things down and hedging your bets that the game goes a little bit later on?
Generally, yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate for Wargs that they've only seen Relentless One play 1 god in only 3 games, so they don't have too much information to go off of.
Ban Azama.
Yeah, so, I mean, you could do that, but then all of a sudden his pick becomes a question mark, right?
That's true.
So you could, on the opposite side, just prepare for the Amaterasu, leave it open, assume that he's going to pick it because he's got a 100% pick rate with it so far, but at the same time, that's a 100% win rate too. So it's a scary toss-up between the two. If you've got a strategy against it, go for it. They've had a little time to prepare overnight, and they had breakfast together and whatnot, but we'll see what they've got.
It really is such a good point where you're looking at just straight up total number of games, regardless of how late the Wargs were playing, how much Smite they played. Pred seems to think the team is pretty warmed up, which I would agree with that mindset. Were you ever the type of, say you're in the Wargs' shoes, just the day, would you rather be the team coming into this matchup having just played 6 pretty long, I guess technically 7 with the best of 1, 7 pretty long games of Smite over the course of 12 hours, or would you rather be the Wardens who are coming in with a couple days of break?
I think I would rather be the Wardens if I could have scrimmed yesterday, right? So they can just watch. They can, after the day's over, which we did end up very late, they can just watch the the Wargs games, and then they could have scrimmed throughout the day. So they get the same amount of practice. They end up warmed up as well, and they're playing from home, so they don't need to warm up in the studio or in a LAN environment. Right. So I think I'd rather be the Wardens in that regard. But if they did a whole and a nothing and were just sitting watching for 12 hours, then maybe they're not warm. So I would rather be the Wargs in that case.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question because your point is very valid there. Or the Wardens playing from home, not here as a squad, I imagine, took notes, spectated the games together, things like that, and made sure to get their information up on the Niflheim Wargs.
One thing to note, though, as well, these are both our first seeds, and we haven't had that matchup yet.
That is a great point.
This is really Europe versus NA now.
Now, that's been a death sentence for a lot of other squads, right, where if you're looking at top seeds from certain regions, it has felt bad.
And I believe it was Sarpe who tweeted, after... Was it? No, Hounds was the first seed, so I'm wrong anyway. But, I mean, look, with the performance...
With the way the Wardens played.
That's right. You would think they were the first seed. That's why I'm thinking that. And it was Sarpe that tweeted, is this NA's first seed when they saw Hounds lose? And then, Wargs ran up to 12 p.m. at night,
Right. Yeah, the North American SEO, it was so difficult to figure out while we were casting just throughout the phase, because it really felt like... the Hounds were they were the best team. They went 5-0. The Wardens, the squad that steamrolls everyone on day one, is a 2-3 win-loss team coming out of North America.
That is true.
Hard team to figure out.
Yeah. And look, the Wardens have been successful over their career so far as well. So you just assume that they're at the top of the ladder. But that NASEC has been competitive. Yep. They've had a lot of practice over there, and they've come out and a brand new meta, and all of a sudden on top and looking like a first seed team.
Yeah, what do you think? I want to zoom in on Moswald just a bit here. The Vulcans, the Apwash, Hell, played Baron way back at the end of Phase 1 of the North American SEC, Merlin, Agni. How difficult do you think it is to pick ban strategize against a player who's throwing out some more unique picks, things that aren't necessarily hard set into the meta?
Yeah, I think, well, Moswell typically in his career hasn't gotten enough respect, you know,
Yeah.
and normally they've just been like, well, let's let Moswell play these, what are normally seen as lower tier picks. You know, we don't respect those picks anyway. And then all of a sudden he picks them, gods like Vulcan, and does work for his team. You know? So I think he's picking them in an intelligent way. If we were to use the Vulcan as an example, and we're talking about objective DPS on the Warden side for these calls that Sino makes, well, Vulcan's that. And he's got the great secure in his ultimate, the objective DPS in his 2, and then, you know, the decent burst from his 1-3 combo as well.
We'll be getting into picks and bans for game number 1 shortly. Have no worry. We're moving in that direction. I've always, because that's a similar conversation to teams we'll see later on in this event, a couple teams in the SPL. You know, you look at, I think, Benny Q and Peg on the two brothers at the SPL level. Especially the SEC, I think Benny Q was much more prone to some of the wild picks out of the mid lane. Pagon has just straight up shown us like assassins, things like that in mid here as of late. But also has the ability to fall back on a few more standard picks. The strategy, the build up, all of that, certainly on the top of our minds. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, game number 1 of Wargs versus Wardens. Welcome back. Game number 1 of Wargs and Wardens just around the corner. Thank God I don't have to cast this one because Wargs and Wardens somehow close enough to throw me for a loop, I think, at every moment here of this game. Ro, if you're the Wargs, if you're the Wardens here, who do you think is most important to get on that carry style of pick? You know, maybe if you're looking at Wargs, you got Kana, Sarpe, Angry, Pred, Spudio. Who do you want to really facilitate here in Game 1?
I mean, I want Prez to facilitate, well, a little bit of Sarpe as well to facilitate Spodio. You know, I still think Hunters are super important in this meta. I still think double Hunter is great if they don't want to play a mage in mid, but I think we'll see Wardens playing a mage in mid with Moswell. Already, we're seeing Nemesis taken away from Sino.
And you were mentioning, Ro, during that break that we've only seen 3 games of Wardens so far. Wardens were in first, or they banned the same 3 bans every single game, Klina, Yamoja, and Kepri. This time, though, sticking with the Klina and Yamoja, but Jingwei, a strong enough pick right now that it'll be taken off of the table. That'll leave Baron Samdi open for the Wargs, and really for the first time in a while for Kana, at least for the first time in the last 6 games, a bit of a stylistic change. We've seen a lot of Odins, King Arthurs, Gibbs, Bastets. Now Baron Samdi, if we assume it'll be Baron Samdi solo.
Yeah. Look, I think that's pretty telling as well. They've taken yesterday as a lesson, and they said the way we were playing is the right way to play. We think that's the best in the meta. I'm going to first pick the Baron, and I'm going to scale, and Wardens are sticking to their guns as well. Look, 4th Amaterasu game in a row. Yep, 4th
AMA game in a row, and a reminder of the KDAs. 4-2-8, 5-2-8, 2-1-6 for Relentless One on Amaterasu in the last 3 games, and that's the only amount of games we've seen this Wardens team play so far here this weekend. Griff had a solid 3 games as well. A 7-0 performance on Jingwei, 2-2 on Charybdis, 4-1 on Anher back on Thursday. All of those games, or a couple of those last games up against the Gladiators from EU. Heimdall has been the popular answer back for a lot of these carries, and so has Baba Yaga. It feels like a 3-stack of late game scaling.
Yeah, look, it's again indicative of what we're going to see this game. It's one team trying to scale and the other team trying to put the pressure on it and get that objective DPS. And let's get these objectives done. Let's get a gold lead before the Baron can get his Boomba's Hammer online, before this Baba Yaga scales up to 3-4 items where she starts dropping zeros type damage of the 50k that I think he dropped in one of those games. And Kepri, a great pick again. Like, that was one pick they were banning at all 3 games, so they obviously respect it. Now picking it up for themselves.
Are you surprised that the Wardens didn't grab something for Sino here in the first 3? Because Mercury's already gone, Nemesis already gone, Cledena technically already gone. Would you really want to be able to grab one of the more facilitator, aggression-style junglers in those first 3, or do you think Sino's flexible enough, doesn't matter?
I think he wanted the Mercury or the Nemesis. Since they're both taken away, he probably, maybe he thinks, his preference kind of falls off a cliff anyway, so he'll just bottom pick his jungler. And they've banned the Kali away, which is decent objective DPS, but I think more importantly, Wardens have banned away the Daji and the Humbats, which we saw, the Wargs and, every European team playing yesterday, that kind of facilitated jungle.
Yep, Kali, been popular. Hunbats, you mentioned, Daji, both of those popular out of the jungle. Vulcan, popular in one game for Moswell at least. And look, it wasn't an Apwash, also popular for Moswell in one game. And the Apwash, I don't know, I'm not going to actually do the math on this. A 4-2-8 game on Apwash compared to a 3-1-5 game on the Vulcan.
Both wins.
Both wins, both solid performances. What makes Apwash a solid pick here for the Wardens?
Look, the same thing we saw him do in one of those games, not yesterday, Thursday. He gets those corpses set up under that fire giant, so when that fire giant is low enough, he can explode all 6 corpses for probably some of the best secure in the game as well. And by far, probably the best zoning ult in the game as well with the Apwash ultimate. So it's all about the objectives again for Wardens. And that's what we saw from them on Thursday. They're sticking to their guns completely, and they're saying our meta is the way to go. It's a question of whether or not, maybe Ravens were a weaker team and that made Wardens look better. I don't think the Gladiators were a weaker team at all, and they managed to 2-0 them with the strategy. So I think both teams sticking to their guns is pretty cool, and we get to see what would normally, in the years past, be a traditional NA versus Europe of aggression versus, slower gameplay. Yeah,
and so it could be the Wardens, when you say sticking to their guns, could be to a fault. We'll see. The Wardens just saying, look, I'm not playing slow smite, even if it's not the optimal way of playing. We are playing aggressive, and we're playing in your face. The Wargs, if they can, may withstand some of that early on. These picks should scale quite nicely into the later game between a Baba Yaga, a Heimdall, and a Baron.
Yeah, so I think the conversation now Wargs are having with themselves is like, look, on the opposite side, they have a lot of that pressure. They have that objective DPS. You know, can we kind of balance out our comp a little bit and fight them a bit more in the early game so we can buy ourselves into the late game? But, you know, maybe they just want to double down and just say, you know what, regardless, all of our games yesterday went into the late game. It'll happen again today.
Well, Sino's going to have to make his pick through 3 bans from the Wargs, potentially even 4 if that Bracken was Sino-centric.
I think one still open to me is the Osiris. It doesn't have a great matchup into either of their backlines, but if he's not thinking about them, if he's just thinking about objectives, then he'll just do that.
Well, King Arthur gets picked here for the Wargs, and so that shows us Baron is
that was the delay.
Sent over to support.
Yeah, so they must have been talking about that for a little while, maybe looking for a support pick that was good there, and maybe the Baron was just the best support pick. It is good into the Khepri, and I guess, you know, as I was saying, you know, he wanted some of that pressure. Wargs want some of that pressure back, so they pick the brawl type god in King Arthur, the typical warrior, and Susano as well that can fight in, you know, the early mid game.
Susano can get active. See, here's the thing with the Wardens is you can't rule, especially with Sino specifically out of the jungle, a theory crafter style jungler through and through, whether he was playing on Obey in the SPL or on his SEC squads. He theory crafts all of these styles of picks. He was the one who made ESET jungle happen for a little while.
I've had several dogs thrown on my head by that man. So
you're not ruling a Scotty jungle out, and you shouldn't, because Scotty jungle is what we will see here. Remember, this is a best of 1. It is not a knockout best of 1. The winner will move on to the upper side of the bracket. The loser moves down to the lower side of the bracket to play in a best of 3 later on today. Scotty jungle, by your own admission, is something you've seen Sino play before.
Yeah, look, I think, well, I've thought, I might be proven wrong in a minute, that it was always just something more of a ranked pick, and I haven't seen him play it much in competitive. So,
but don't the Wardens just play a ranked style of Smite?
It's true, and
I say that jokingly.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, honestly. Like I said yesterday, I doubt they were scrimming. They were probably watching the Wargs a little bit. They're also just playing ranked games. You know what? He might have played 3 Scotty games yesterday.
And he won all of them.
I'm warmed up on this guy. Just let me slam it. They're not going to ban it. I'll last pick.
All right, so I think we actually have to, unfortunately, sink our teeth into it a little bit. I imagine your personal data on Scotty jungle is somewhat limited.
Yeah, those were quick games, yeah.
They're very, very short games. When do you expect Sino to be able to get active? Does this pick just scale like a standard hunter? Like you need to be a little bit later on in the game to really hit your mark? What do you expect here from Sino? Where does that gas pedal go?
Yeah, I think it depends on the build a little bit. If he goes to Transcendence, he might need to scale a little bit. And by scale, I just mean he needs to get some stacks rolling. He needs to finish the actual item because that item, relatively weak at tier 2. It's cheap, to be fair, but you know it's not like a mace, on the other hand, where you can finish it for 2,200 gold in the terms of Jotuns, and then you have that flat pen online. Right? The Transcendence needs to scale, but it will help him later into the game because you get that CDI, you get the extra power, and then again, he's going to scale into the I guess, objective monster that he's going to be, and he can call those objectives, put the dog on, the dog can tank for a little while as well, and they can blow it up with the Outwash corpses.
Now, a far cry from, say, like gank potential of a Mercury, which got banned out. Do you expect ganks from Sino? How does this style of pick in your mind work with lane pressure?
I don't expect too many ganks. Like, he can catch maybe Susano in the jungle a little bit, but even then, that matchup can go both ways. I don't think he has too much gank potential on a King Arthur, and I don't think... Well, he has a little bit of gank potential on the Baron, but not so much the Heimdall. I think we might see him just go that Transcendence and just try to play at a faster pace than the enemy team so he can call those objectives.
Well, flip the script a little bit here. We've had plenty of jungle talk about Sino. Sarpe for the Wargs here on Susano, a standard jungle pick. Do you expect Susano to be able to get active, find some lane ganks?
He's the one that needs to do that. Yeah, he needs to buy his team a ticket to the late game. He needs to shut down this Amaterasu if he can. You know, make her stop rotating. If he can shut down the Amaterasu and that King Arthur can get pressure, then it's going to take a long time for that Amaterasu to rotate out of lane. For example, he can also kill the Outwash. You can get in and out away from those corpses pretty easily, so you're not too scared by that. But again, he's got to contest with a Khepri as well. So
Wargs on the back end of a 3-game set yesterday into game 1 up against the Wardens.
Guys, it's going to be one hell of an opening set for us. It's going to be Blazybot and Trelly breaking it down here for game number 1, and it is going to be Sino here on the Scotty jungle.
Yep, Sino on the Scotty jungle is, if you haven't been watching too much of the SEC, you might think this is a troll pick or something he's trying out for the first time, but it's not. It's just Sino on the Scotty jungle, and usually, I will say, it's to some great effect. He does lots of good things on this pick. Sadly, I hate seeing Scotty because I think the ice is arguably the most annoying ability in the game to try and deal with, but whenever people see him do well with it, I imagine I will see more Scotty jungle in my game. So avert your eyes and just let Sino play this pick and sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about it too much. And if you're, if you're at home agreeing with Trelly here, remember, blame Hindu Man for the invention of permafrost, because I do believe that was him who pitched it way back when.
Is that true?
I think that's, that's how the story goes.
Okay, well, I have no proof of that, so I'm not going to do it because he's my boss. But you can blame him if you want.
Sure, I'll make sure to get right on that one. As the Niflheim Wargs here, just trying to establish themselves in all these lanes. Now, obviously, Trelly, we've got a bunch of weird picks here. I want to talk about the upwash here in the mid lane as well. You don't want to talk about
Well,
the
I was on the
upwash?
desk yesterday, and I was asked to analyze, what the outwash brought, and, did it bring, something that a different mage couldn't, and I pretty much said, no, Moswell looks good on it, don't get me wrong, and I understand trying to shut down a fair bit of healing in the Baron, but I think Moswell just likes outwash. You could definitely pick 3, 4, 5 other picks to get anti-heal and still do more things than outwash can, but there's also a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes with, like almost 100% anti-heal with the Divine whenever Empty the Crypts is down, so it's just a lot of annoyance that I don't see the value in, but I also understand that Moswell, it's one of those things you can't look at, but look at this. Looks like Sarpei's wrapping around the mid lane.
And he might be able to find some value from it, but Moswell does look like he's about to spot him out. Gonna follow him over here to the left-hand camps, and actually, you know what, Trelly? I was just about ready to see the corpse explosion for all 3 of those and for Sarpei to instantly die, but luckily for Sarpei, Moswell not quite level 3 just yet.
Yeah, holding on to that corpse explosion because there's a lot of different movement abilities that Sarpei can use to try and get away from that damage, and then you're just wasting mana. That's one of the things that Outwash struggles with early on, but we're seeing a lot of low health bars right now, and Sarpei's going to have to juke.
Once again, in some trouble, Sarpei is playing the Susano, so he's got, as you mentioned, plenty of abilities available to him to get him out of this spot, but Sino, after forcing him out, is going to have free reign here. Sarpei, I'm not sure about this decision, setting up for Connor, but the permafrost.
That's what I'm saying,
knocks
man.
him straight away.
Sino should be dying there. Connor makes the rotation over. Beautiful pull in by Sarpei, and then just should have brought your skis. That's all I can say. Sarpei should have brought the skis, because that's the only counter to that ice. Either way, 5 beads on the sides of the Wardens, so putting a lot of respect into the CC that the Wargs have. We usually only see that with like a Hounds or a Fenrir, but this is enough. This was enough to warrant the 5 beads pickup. Was it just should have brought your skis? That's how we got you.
I now feel, I understand how J-Mac feels.
Well, that was at the end of a 12-hour day. This is day 1. You were well rested and laughed and should have brought your skis.
Look, it's the first cast of the day. I just wasn't ready for
you got little butterflies. You've never cast with me before on the main stage.
It's true, yeah. Like we've done a lot of work together on the SCC before, but this is, in person it's very different.
I understand. And looking at the builds, it looks like we might see mirrored Warlock sashes in that mid lane. Obviously Moswell going for the outwash, gonna make a lot of sense. And Angry, we've seen with the Baba Yaga either the Charon's coin start, where you're trying to get stacks on that pretty much immediately, or the Warlock slash into the Charon's coin. I don't really have a preference. I think getting the Charon's coin on a little bit earlier, the movement speed is going to help you out a ton, but also just base HP into percentage penetration and lots of damage, that's also going to help you out. So I don't know if I have a preference over the two, but looks like Sorcerer's Staff has been picked up.
Yeah, so it's going to be that similar build from these two characters going for that Warlocks. I don't think Moswell will opt to pick up the Charon's coin, but do you think we'll see a different movement speed item, maybe the Zoom off?
It's certainly possible. I know Moswell, when he goes the Vulcan, likes to go for the Charons and the Zoom Orb and just kite around, but with the Outwash and a lot of people trying to CC him, I don't imagine that he'll be trying to zoom around. Maybe so, just trying to live the damage. As you saw, that potion just did like essentially no damage right now. Baba really wanting to scale into the later stages of the game before she starts chunking, and Relentless One just going for the Golden Blade start once again. Going to be out-pressured a bit, but also clears very quickly.
Angry going up into the house. Sino is the target and already pulled back in by Prez. The damage is ticking through, but look at the turnaround. Prez nearly takes a spill himself, but Sino going to be the target here, falling down for first blood in favor of the Wargs.
Yeah, it's a great rotation in by the support. Without the coffin there, I don't think Sino ever has too much to fear. And a great Typhoon as well. I thought Sarpe would get credit for that kill, but the Tier 2 Transcendence, that charged Morningstar tree, not going to be the best for some early damage. Once you get Transcendence online, that Typhoon probably could have lasted there, but not going to be the case. And we see Sino still is able to finish up the Jotun's Wrath. It's a little bit cheaper than the Transcendence, so despite the fact that Sarpe got the assist, it was a part of that. A little bit behind build-wise. If Sino does find a Susano in the jungle, that should be a pretty easy 1v1 with the ult down.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, in fairness, Sarpe does have a lot to get out, even if he can't directly move away. That, you know, the jet stream, really good for just avoiding a lot of that presence that Sino can put down. You can even jet stream away from the permafrost, meaning no skis required.
That's true, but Calder will not, he won't care.
That's true.
It depends on what Sino's leveling, honestly. Will Calder have the dash attack? Because if you have the dash, then you can really just chase down, get the root. And that's just hard to deal with. It's not even a 1v1. I said a 1v1. If Calder's there, it's a 2v1.
That's perfectly fair, yes. Like, there's obviously been a lot of discussion, I think, since the improvements to Calder a couple of years ago. Who is really the god in this relationship? Is it Skadi or is it Calder?
As far as I'm concerned, it is Calder.
It's Calder. I mean, he's a dog for starters, and that already gives him bonus points. Spudio potentially in a rough spot, but is going to jump into that Bifrost mate just right.
Is a wolf a dog?
Yeah, it's like an ancestral dog. It's like a pre-dog dog.
Well, wait, hold on a second, because wargs are also wolves, so
True.
Hold that thought.
Spudio forced to use the ult away. Sino does expend his own, but that's going to be a nice trade. It's going to help out Griff a little bit here if he wants to go aggressive in a few moments, because that ultimate isn't available. No CCI. Relentless One does have some CCI available to him, though. Sarpe doesn't care, and the Typhoon's going to claim that one.
Beautiful jet stream there, holding on to the teleport till the last second. Just not a lot of defense. Relentless One goes this build fairly often, but it also means you can essentially get 100-0 by any little gank. The beads goes down a little bit too early, and then a perfectly telegraphed gank that worked out fine. And now Kaolin's going to have some free reign in that lane. Obviously, Sarpe gets the last hit, so gets the credit for the kill, but that wave being pushed under, blue buff now probably going to be looked at once the spawn comes through. Actually, Sarpe looks to be running away, so not going to be going for that blue buff. Instead, just getting Kaolin's blue buff for themselves.
Doesn't want to push his luck, and that's respectable. You know, at this point in the game, Niflheim Wargs are up about 1,000 gold. You know, just above 1,200 here. So I think they're fine not necessarily risking too much for that blue buff, especially with the reduced amount of gold and XP they're going to be getting from invading that camp.
Yeah, but I think it's more so denying Relentless One. It's making sure he has the worst time possible. Obviously, you just got ganked, you used your beads, you used your ult, and then you go to lane and your blue buff's gone. That's really when you're just like, well, guys, I need something here.
Yeah.
You gotta help me out because everyone seems to be in my lane. Right now, though, it looks like Sarpe is posturing towards the left side of the map, maybe just trying to get a little bit of... Literally, as I said that, just cut back right. He's like, nope, you don't know what I'm doing. Never let anyone know your next move. Gonna go back to the right side. And maybe look at this Amma again, because Relentless One is sort of in the enemy jungle here.
He wants to have a poke around, but Sarpe once again is here, and Relentless One only really has this buckler.
He's gonna juke.
This is gonna... No way he's allowed to back here. Sarpe isn't aware. He doesn't know... Oh, but Relentless One is gonna cancel the back dashes through the tower. But now he's surrounded by 3. Preds comes in to join the chaos, and Connor knocks him up into the sky. Dazzling offense is being utilized, but the resurrection... Look at the denial from Preds! Uses every piece of mobility, but a beautiful route from Gino is gonna stop 3 from pursuing, and Relentless One is out of there.
Get you a brother like Gino.
Right.
They're twin brothers, and they're saving each other. That's what we love to see in this game. And it looks like Gino's actually going to hold the wave as well. So say, don't worry, bro. I got you with the farm. The blue buff not going to be up just yet, but look at this. Sino on the left side of the map is trying to find a gank on the Spudio. This is a Heimdall with a Bifrost. This is going to be a hard gank to go for.
He's also got his ultimate, so there's just so many options, truly, for Spudio to get away, and
That's
he's just going to
crazy.
jump in the portal.
He just did the
Yo,
Bifrost.
I can't believe he was able to do that. Sarpe, though.
No way.
Look at this deep engagement. Blinks full death. The jet stream pulls back, and Relentless One falls down.
All that work that Gino did to make sure Relentless One survives. Oh, but Sarpe is going to die to the tower.
Dead. But
Did he get a hit? No, he didn't. I was going to say, did Relentless One find a way to get any damage there? Nope. So that will just be, I feel like the assist probably went through. They were close enough, but either way.
Nope.
Hold on.
No assist. No single assist for any member of the Kaolin Wardens there.
Spudio Bifrosted again.
Yeah, well, he's fine. Like, I don't want to talk about Spudio because he's completely fine. Like, you know?
I mean, no, you're right. There is no fear. That's what I'm saying. Sino is saying, hey, sorry, Relentless One, you're getting ganked consistently in that lane. I'm not going to help you. I'm going to go gank the Heimdall, who we really have no fear. We have no chance of ever killing as long as that Bifrost is available. Maybe if Griff got like super aggressive, baited the Bifrost out early, like a longer one, so the cooldown's long, but Spudio's using them pretty effectively here.
Gino's going to take a little bit of damage in the mid lane, but nothing too serious here. Finally, Relentless One starting to get some protections online, probably going for that Berserker shield here, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, you just want to go the auto attack build, try to get a Berserker as maybe a Frostbound, Shoguns, all those items that sort of fell out of the meta with this new patch, but Relentless One, he's not changing the build up too much. He just wants to be that auto attack annoyance, try and outbox Spudio in the later stages of the game, which with how good Hunters have been looking is going to be a tall task, especially when you're level 9.
Relentless One is going to be taking a lot of damage from Connor here, though, and this truly is the power of King Arthur. And look at where Sino's positioned himself now. I thought he was maybe looking for the long con wraparound, but decides instead to go back to base. Relentless One sitting at half HP here. Amaterasu has a lot of healing options available to her, though. Relentless One, though, is just going to head back to base.
I love what Sino did there. He looked at the possible gank as we see Sarpei possibly wrapping around looking for Griff here. Griff not going to be afraid trying to steal away the camp and will not get it either way. It looks like he's actually dashing in here.
Sarpei still has movement abilities available to him. Griff, you know, gets 1 or 2, is like, okay, well, I can't really chase this any further. He's going to be out of there. Over here towards the mid lane, though. Gino getting pressured out by Preds, who's just poking around.
Okay, so as I was saying, Sino goes for the gank, and then he's like, that's a Stone of Gaia, and I really would prefer to have some anti-heal before that gank. Bax finishes the Brawler's Beat Stick. Now, maybe you have a chance to try and go for that gank. Not going to be looking at the right side of the map, though. More so focused, again, on Spudio, who is just Bifrosting away consistently. It just seems like Sino is getting behind in farm, but really, with the level lead, doesn't seem like it matters that much.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we can have a look at maybe like the net worth or the gold in hand, one of those money charts, he is sitting at the bottom here, but in reality he's only what, 300 gold behind his contemporary, and at this point in the game I would argue the XP means a lot more.
Yeah, especially if you took over to level 12, get that second relic available. That's what's really going to start pushing you over the edge here. Sarpei sitting at level 10, 2-1. So got... Wait, hold that thought. Relentless One's getting very low. I was going to say maybe Kana has the hamstring, is able to chase this one down. The Trebuchet is here, but it's not. It hasn't quite made it to the tower yet, so not really getting too much value. And I was told by Mifflin to not allow you to say that. So I'm just gonna gloss over it. Talk about the Trebuchet and then move on. Obviously now, Angry has finished that Charon's coin. This Baba Yaga, highest XP on the map at the moment, level 13. And the build is coming along quite nicely. Even without any sort of assist, that Charon's coin will get stacked up because of the passive, and Angry's going to start swinging sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, well, he's fully finished with the Warlock staff, as you said, and already I think that's going to put Angry's damage very high up there. But Moswell isn't really far behind him. He's also got that staff finished up here. Moving on to a second staff, which I'm thinking could be a Gem of Isolation.
Nope. It's gonna be E-Staff. No one's allowed to build a Gem of ISO.
Oh.
You will get shunned if you build that item.
Okay, it's like a gentleman's agreement. No
yeah,
Gem of Isolation.
that's the only reason.
Isn't it core
I'm not
on
saying
push?
it. No, I mean it used to be, but once they nerfed it to only be a second worth of. So I'm not saying that there couldn't be use. If Sarpei tries to dive an outpost with Gem of ISO and then just gets stuck in the crypts with Gem of ISO, that's extreme annoyance. But what I will say is there's just no way. You're not allowed to.
Okay, well...
It'd be like Frostbound in ADC. No one wants to deal with that.
Sure, fair enough. So we'll make a bet, shall we, Charlie? If it's Gem of ISO, I win. If it's anything else, you win.
Okay, that's...
I'm fine taking the bet.
Those are good odds, I would say. And if you're looking at the build, just a lot of HP onto Moswell. No one has any chin size yet, and right now Spudio's building into more crit and penetration with, I can only assume, the Silver Branch bow. So not going to have to worry about anyone shredding the HP just yet, but it's possible Angry's working on a Soul Reaver, and that's going to pay dividends.
Relentless One stares in abject horror as his blue buff once again gets invaded by someone 2 levels his senior. Connor with a demanding lead, but Gino could be in some dire straits here in the mid lane. Ultimate's popped from 2. Typhoon comes out as well. There's the resurrection, and this is a lot of commitment for nothing. Gino's going to find his way out.
It looks like a lot of ults traded. Spadio makes the rotation, and here comes Kana as well. If you're the Wardens, you got to get out quickly, but they're diving this tower.
There's the stun onto Sino, but beads are expended. Now the turnaround in damage is coming through. Already 2 members fallen low on the side of the Wargs, and that's going to wash the fight. Trelly.
I've never seen Griff scared. It seems like even when the big tanky solo laner runs at him, he is W-keying into the enemies. I mean, Spadio has been constantly worried about where the gank is and having to sit under tower line, but Griff is just walking at all targets right now, and their builds are relatively the same. I mean, 1 level lead. They both have their relic set, but this Rama has seen no fear in his eyes.
I mean, do you have to? This character's got so much available to him, and on top of that, the Wardens, sorry, the Wargs really commit a fair amount just to try and kill Gino there. You know, they use Pred's ult, Angry's ult, Sarpei ults there as well, so there's not really a whole lot that they can put onto Griff as the turnaround.
Yeah, and they didn't even get Gino's beads as well, so it should be just fine sitting if they do want to try and go for any sort of pull onto this Gold Fury. Looks like Gino has been sort of soaking up some farm here for Griff, maybe looking for the gank, but again, we've harped on it a few times. Spadio is essentially unkillable as long as that Bifrost is there and no one is recovering the option of the teleport. So right now, just going to be going back and building up some items. It does not look like anyone will be pulling the Gold Fury anytime soon. It looks like the Wargs are around, but they don't have the vision to go for this confidently, and we already touched on it on the desk, but Moswell has so much burst. Just the Oracles are going to be the target here.
Yeah, absolutely. And also this Gold Fury, you know, to quote Mifflin, it throws hands now.
Oh, it does.
This is an objective that you can't just decide to pull here in 9.5. This objective will do a lot of damage in return, just like that tower will. Connor takes 2 shots there under the tier 1, but he's looking fine. This man has not had less than a 2-level lead for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, Kana has been in 0 danger this game thus far, and I don't think will be until Griff decides to rotate. The ADCs are really going to be the issue to Kana's health bar. Moswell has been farming up effectively, but hasn't really got too much damage, but it looks like Relentless One could be in some trouble here.
Sarpei is making the rotation over, but that dash is just so good from Amaterasu. The distance, the speed that it comes out with, it's got a little silence on there as well. It's just an incredible ability, and it is going to make Sarpei question what he wanted to do, but forcing Relentless One back is going to open up this Pyromancer, which the Wargs should take handily.
The first objective pulled, and the first objective goes down. The Wargs have had pretty convincing pressure this whole game. No one really has been in fear of dying. It's been like pretty high health bars throughout, so that will bump that gold lead up to about 2K. I don't think the Wardens, man, they touched on the desk that it's going to be hard to differentiate between the Wards and the Wardens. I think we both had one slip up, but anyways, the Wardens are probably not in fear just yet. They have a decent late game. I think the Scotty jungle is only going to get better. You want that ability damage coming online. Obviously, Griff is not too worried at the moment, and Moswell does go for the E-staff, so I get the bragging rights, I suppose.
Well played, well played. This, you know, the Niflheim Wardens really, you know, tripped me up, made
You said the Niflheim Wardens.
Yeah, that's the same thing, right? The Kaolin Wargs and the Niflheim Wardens.
Stop trying to trip up the audience, man.
The Niflheim Wargdens, is that what's gonna happen? The
I see a half-health Gold Fury is what I see.
They're the ones pushing down the Gold Fury right here. And now no form of congestion from the Niflheim Wargs.
I mean, that's insane, given the fact that the Wargs have had all sorts of control on this map thus far. Sarpei passes over a ward here and will take a little bit of damage from Oswald, but it looks like the tier 1 tower trying to answer back some of this gold. We might have a 5, no, only a 4 before. The ADCs, they went back to farming.
Yeah, why would you possibly want an ADC in a tower siege? That would be ridiculous, Trelly. The Wargs trying to at least do a little bit of poke to this tier 1 here. 18 minutes into the game. About, you know, I think this is a decent chunk, but so far they don't want to commit to these towers. They are still doing so much damage.
Yeah, Sino is looking for the gank once again on Spadio. I wonder what is going to happen here.
Is he going to Bifrost?
No, surely not.
I think he might Bifrost. Yo, he's not going to Bifrost.
He doesn't have a good option, actually.
He might be in some trouble here. Uses the ult defensively. Griff and Spadio both under the tower. He really has to try and get this defensive play, but yeah, no way Griff misses those direct down shots from the sky.
It looks like Preds is trying to rotate over and stop this back here. I don't think he'll be able to make it in time, and I think he recognizes that as well. Goes for Sino instead, and both will make it out scot-free. So first kill on the table for the Wardens. I said there would be no real kill potential on Spadio unless someone covered the option. And Sino, instead of like going right at Spadio, just said, hey, I'm going to run towards the tower. I see where your teleport's at. there's no way you're zooming out of this one.
I mean, that's perfectly fair. Really well recognized from Sino. You know, he noticed the pattern every time he went to try and take down Spudio, just taking that Bifrost option. Heimdall may be one of the safest hunters on the map right now.
There's only two.
Not even on the map, just in the game.
I was going to
as a
say,
whole.
hold that thought. That's a 19-minute FG being pulled right now, and I don't see anyone except maybe Baba Yaga in the...
Now Connor's back in. They don't know.
They have no idea.
No idea. The Empty the Crypt has been committed. And the
They were
Kaolin
so
Wardens,
unaware.
19 minutes into the game, walk away with the Fire Giant.
I mean, I'm so glad that Rose shouted me out about the trying to get FG before 24 minutes. Just for a moment like this, when you have the Alpwash hold for burn, you have everyone rotating over to make sure it goes down, and now the Wargs, who have pretty much been in the driver's seat all game up until that Gold Fury, now are going to have to go into the defense. Every single tower is still standing, and that's going to be a lot of gold if the Wardens are trying to get it. Honestly, though, the Wargs, the gold lead, it's not there. They could post up and defend these tier 2s pretty easily.
And I think that's the beauty of this comp, right? Typically when we're talking about objective play in a double hunter meta, it's the argument between shred potential and secure. Because if you're picking up 2 ADCs, typically you're not having that secure ability. Hold that thought. Angry goes up into the house. Relentless One comes back around the tower. Preds might be getting got here, but Sarpei up in the front. Relentless One has to dash away to try and save his jungler, and Sarpei is going to be the first one to fall here. Connor getting aggressive onto Sino, but look at the revive. Gino comes in from the other side of the lane, and Griff continues on the assault. Preds is going to be the next one down. Relentless One charging forward, trying to find some extra damage. Up into the sky goes the ADC. Griff rains down hell from above, and this team are charging so deep, but Angry isn't going to let them have it for free. Connor's going to make his way out. Angry should fall down here in trade. Doesn't quite actually scratch that.
They opened the door for him!
But there's the corpse explosion. Angry's gonna fall down, and that is a 3-kill swing for Wardens.
Yeah, the Wargs got a little bit overzealous there, forgot about Scarab's Blessing, or tried to outplay it, I suppose. Gino gets the beautiful revive, and then Sino runs through the tier 1 tower into the tier 2, and then said, wait, guys, this is starting to hurt, and unfortunately they lose one, but either way, the Wardens answer back in a massive way. That's going to be a solid gold swing for them as well at the tier 2 tower. And now they get to rotate around. It looks like Relentless One and maybe Griff will go for the towers in left, but Primal Fury is also spawning in here shortly.
There's not like a huge contested objective, but it's some extra gold in hands that the Wardens can do to extend this lead out. And what I was going to say, Trelly, is that the difference between this like shred and secure, normally you've got an ADC in the mid lane if you're picking up that second auto attacker, right? This way around, sure, you miss out on your assassin, but you have the best of both worlds. You got Moswall for the secure and Sino and Griff for the shred.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the Wardens have not changed up their playstyle in the slates. You could have told me this was, you know, just Season 9, and I would have believed you like that at the very start, because this is the style of play they've been playing. Relentless One on these auto-attack warriors, Sino on the weird picks in the jungle, maybe the Scotty, sometimes the E-set. Either way, this isn't like the double hunter meta they're conforming to, because Sino's just building red items. This is not the, we're going to have 1 kin size and 1 crit damage. This is just, I want like Heartseeker and crazy ability damage, and Griff is just going to be applying so much burn, as well as the snipes from the sky.
Is that going to backfire for him, though? I asked that as Spudio takes a giant chunk of his health bar there. Sino not quite able to finish up this time around, but that was a long Bifrost. It's going to enable a long cooldown. The Wardens take advantage of that left side attack and pick up the Pyromancer.
Yeah, I think Spudio is going to be relatively useless now in this fight. No Bifrost and double relics there, so no AS or beads. All you have is the ultimate to try and get out of danger. Anyone who can really get to the back line is going to have some pretty free reign on trying to get to that Heimdall. Right now, look at that massive swing we saw. It was about 3K in favor of the Wargs into about to be 3K after this Primal Fury goes down in favor of the Wardens. So that looks like they will back up here. Still a few more towers to go through. You have the tier 2 on left and right, and still the tier 1 in right. Kana, do we still believe in first one to get tower wins lane?
I think that's the rule, yeah, especially in solo. That's the gentleman's agreement.
Won like handedly.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's what Wargs take away from this game. They go, okay, great, Connor won the lane. That means we get to progress, right? That we won the best one?
I think that just means at the end of this game, if the Wardens are able to close out, because, I mean, it's not a massive lead in it at all. I mean, just the 3K. Next Fire Giant fight will be relatively even. Just going to see some more level 20s on the right side of your map. But honestly, everyone's ticking over, and Saito lost the race to level 20, so Sarpe was able to get ahead. Hopefully this red buff will tick him over so he can try and get, and he will, start to get the upgraded Eye of the Jungle. Either way, though, Kana was able to tweet, like, you know, at least I won lane.
Yeah, for sure. Like, that's a moral victory for the Wargs anyway, and that's going to help them a lot going into whichever side of the bracket that they end up here. Definitely not over for the Niflheim Wargs, though. They've still got plenty.
So even.
Exactly. They've still got plenty of space to play with. It's only 24 minutes into the game, Charlie. We've got at least another 24, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, don't say that. Don't say that. We've already seen one Fire Giant at 24 minutes in the game, and that is what's a little bit nuts. Gino is way too far up here to get pulled.
Look at the damage coming through from Angry, though. Gino falls down to half. Typhoon is expended, though. And the damage in return, without costing Wardens a single 4-key.
And it looks like they did get stunned by Moswell's heal there. If the Baron hits the 2, and then the Fleeting Breath comes through, you're just going to be stunning your teammates, essentially. So Moswell has been pretty on point with trying to make sure that doesn't happen. Kana is frontlining here, and again, Griff is like frontlining as well. He does not care.
Yeah, the Wardens are definitely not afraid of stepping up, especially these carries. Look at Sino's positioning as well. Normally we see these junglers wrap around, and especially for Sino, he's going to have to find a flank to really get his damage off. But, I mean, in this formation, I guess he just needs to step up, throw the dog at someone, and that someone could very much be Kana, as the rest of the Niflheim Wargs look to potentially fall in here. Connor's going to get hugged, but Gino, the damage is going to get really thrown onto him there. Puts the
body
res
blocked
on the
the
wrong
ult.
person, and now he's going to fall down. Relentless One pulled back in by Sarpe in the teleport to finish up a second one. 3 people stunned out there by Connor right in the front, and the Wargs are going to steal away the Fire Giant.
The chase is on here. Are they trying to get the FG off anyone? Griff goes up. Snipes could kill just about anyone here. They're so weak.
Sarpe is going to be the target there. Griff claims the life of 1, and he is going to strip away the Fire Giant from the jungler, but that is a huge win for the Niflheim Wargs, taking 2 in the straight engagement and sealing away the objective.
I really think that Relentless One just got a little bit too close to Gino, tried to put the Scarab's Blessing just on the ground and then body blocked it. Both of them end up falling there because of the fact I think Relentless One went in a little bit harder because he saw the Scarab's Blessing on him, and then Sarpe is able to chase that one down. Good snipes by Griff to make sure losing Fire Giant on 1, but now the Wargs are back in the driver's seat. They've essentially, I don't know, stolen the car and said, hey, now it's our time now to get some towers. Pretty much all of them on the map besides Kana, as we've already mentioned. Kana one lane, possibly win game. Now's your option to do it. The Gold Fury is not going to be up for a little bit. So now you have time to get the left tower and help out because Spudio definitely lost.
For sure, absolutely. Connor really not been a huge impact in these fights so far. 0-4, but sorry, that's what the slash line will tell you.
Look at that player damage.
Well, I mean, to quote Mifflin again here, as much as I hate to do it, you got to take off about 5,000 damage for solo laner kind of shenanigans, just kind of boxing each other in lane, right?
If that's the case, then that means the Relentless One has done essentially no damage this game.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's the Amaterasu way, right? He's not there really for
But I'm
the
not
damage.
adhering to this logic. I'm saying that
You
Relentless One
disagree.
has been active and Kana has also been active. Either way, they are going to step up and defend this tier 2 tower here.
Connor puts in the first little bit of poke onto Gino, and already taking a fair amount of damage. This Wargs roster is going to have a lot of siege potential. Look at Spudio's damage. Gino now taking some crits. Relentless One up into the dazzling offensive, and Preds using that CCI to keep himself healthy. Gino this time around does get the res off of himself.
Griff has the snipes.
Shell is popped really early here by Niflheim Wargs after the disengage, so maybe a little bit of a trigger-happy moment there from them as the Wardens hold on to the tower pretty well.
And Gino does go back and get a full health bar now. I don't think this tower will fall here unless a massive ult from Kana comes through. Spudio is still full HP though, just free casting.
He is just allowed to walk up and get like 5 auto attacks off on the tier 2 here. That's not really something that Wardens can afford to do. Gino dashing in for the hug onto Angry, forces the beads out, and Gino's going to be just fine, but so is Angry. And with all those cooldowns expended, going to be the tier 2.
Yeah, if you're looking at the relics right now, definitely looking more on the side of the Wargs. A lot was used by the Kaolin Wardens. They didn't even defend the tier 2, but they delayed the Fire Giant push, and I think that's really the name of the game here. They wanted this to be not a, we're going to look at your Phoenix type of Fire Giant, just we're going to get the towers as much as possible. About a minute left on that buff, and there's still a few more towers to be looked at here. Sino is getting the backhands, but could post a wrap around here, and it looks like he's thinking about it, but we'll go back instead.
Tier 1 tower falls and continuing the siege are the Niflheim Wargs. The Wardens are a little bit disjointed here. 200 tower to around the jungle, a third on his way in. Relentless One, he's able to find the flank, and Prez is under tower, taking a lot of poke, but Gino might fall down here. Both the supports lose their lives in this initial siege. Sarpei wraps around the back. The Typhoon was used to try and CC the Wardens a little bit, and while the tier 2 tower does fall to half, that that one trade either way is going to close that one out.
That was a beautiful wraparound by Sarpei. Massive Typhoon to disrupt. I think Gino was dead no matter what, but still, just recognizing he had some free time here. Looks like Primal Fury for the Wargs and Pyromancer for the Wardens. They will be able to get some vision down because they have presence on this FG for a little bit. I don't think they'll be able to do much else. Obviously, you can't sit here the whole time. You did lose your support in the process, so they will just go back to base. The Relic Timer that I was mentioning a little bit earlier is going to be pretty much even by the time this does go up. It looks like the Horrific Emblem was bought for Preds, but on the other side, Gino has the Root Sprint, so CC as opposed to way less damage and attack speed slow and regular slow. The question is which one will be used more effectively, and so far Preds has been getting so much CC. Gino has to use beads and or ult every time this coffin comes through.
Yeah, absolutely, and he has been the primary target here, right? Luckily, he has been able to save himself the last couple times, not quite running into that same issue that he did around the Fire Giant with Relentless One right in front of him. But this next Fire Giant fight is going to be a big tell-all. This is going to be the first enhanced Fire Giant of this game.
This is the best of three.
Yeah.
Because Warden's got the first one, and then the Wargs got the second one. This one matters.
This one absolutely matters, and already looking to get some poke on the board of both of these teams. But the more consistent healing, Trelly, is going to be coming through from the Wargs' side. It's all going to be down to Moswell, really, to stop Preds from getting his team back to full health whenever these trades occur. And look at the amount of damage that potion does to Relentless One.
I'm looking at how even the map state is right now. 2 tier 2 towers for both of these teams. The gold is essentially net even as well. Both teams have one Fire Giant. It really just depends on this team fight, and Gino is going to take a little bit of CC and has the backup. Look at that damage.
It's both the frontliners already taking a healthy chunk of their health bar. Sarpei just looking to walk around the corner. He's just scouting around, puts that jet stream down the other direction in case things get hairy. The Wardens have to look to step up and stop this objective being pulled. Spadio, though, doesn't want to stick onto it just yet. They are still looking for a pick.
Yeah, anyone posting up a little bit too far, Gino, I imagine, will be looking for an abduct here, but too much, and you're going to get locked down. Obviously, the beads are available, and Scarab's Blessing is here, but not the tankiest target right now. Sav and Genji's guard is not going to be enough to survive, and it looks like Enhanced Fire Giant will actually be pulled by Spadio this time.
Walking back into this pit is going to be dangerous for the Wardens. All 10 ultimates available across the board, and it's just looking for that opening to start the fight. These health bars have gone back to full from the tanks, and that is going to be the abduct already down. Relentless One takes a healthy chunk, but once again, it's not going to signal to the start of the fight.
I'm looking at Angry and I'm looking at Sarpei right now. Will Sarpei go for the wraparound, and will Angry be consistently hitting these potions, poking down the health bars of the Wardens? Once again, a little fake pull here, trying to bait the bug, trying to bait Gino a little bit too far. Look at Relentless One. This is the HP I was talking about.
Already at half, and Sino is wrapping around, looking to find it, forcing the Wargs back into the disengage. Angry up into the house, up into the sky goes the ADC. Typhoon comes through, and the damage is so far good. Relentless One has to get that heal, the resurrect put onto his back, and Connor misses the scoop ultimate, but Griff is going to be the first one to fall down. No return kill for Wardens just yet. The health bars from Wargs are low, though, too low to look at this objective. The heal from Preds is going to do a little bit, but not really enough to keep them healthy.
He rooted Moswell when the wrap it up. Well, I knew right away when I saw the health bars of the Wargs, they were not going to be able to pull that Enhanced Fire Giant, and the Wardens down a man, probably not going to go for it as well. But you gotta ungroup up. It's like the Cupid Heart Bomb. Whenever the wrap it up hits, it can root more targets if you're hugging each other. So that will go through. Now though, the Wargs have the reset. They have their health bars back. They have 25 seconds, give or take, on Rama. It looks like only Relentless One will be here right now. No one immediately going to go for the pull, though.
Wargs just have to find some sort of establishment here in this Fire Giant pit, and it looks like they're going to find some confidence to start it up. Relentless One just hugging himself around this bottom side, finding some damage onto Angry, but look at the return. Mage damage, nothing to scoff at, but on the top side, Typhoon already popped. Two people get pulled back in. Moswell has to empty those crypts, and Gino is caught out in the middle, but Moswell is going to be caught out by Angry there. The potion's going to slam him down. 60 seconds on the grayscale for the mid laner of the Kaolin Wardens, and now this Fire Giant is open for the blue team.
But Griff is on the way, and the snipes are available. Some low health bars still on the sides of the Wargs, and Kana is just being a frontline sponge, soaking up all of this damage.
Fire Giant at half HP, but it is going to be leashed here by the Niflheim Wargs as Connor takes a little bit too much damage from Griff and has to move his way out of there. For now, looks like it's going to go back to this dance.
38 minutes. That's what I'm calling. That's when the enhanced Fire Giant will actually be pulled. These little
50.
half pulls, no. These little half pulls are just trying to bait the other team into doing anything stupid, stepping up a little bit too far when relics are down. Moswell still 17 seconds before he will be able to join the fight. And finally, Zarpay is going for the wraparound here.
And he could find something. It's all about whether or not he can find a decent Typhoon to really kick off this fight. I think that's where this is going to have to come from, as Wardens have to back up and look at the positioning from Zarpay. No one's going to get picked up by the Typhoon, but Sino is going to fall down super low. The Resurrect from Gino is put down onto him. And now with the jungler from Wargs put down really low, it's something, but it's not going to be enough to really open up this Fire Giant just yet. But Sino still willing to come back into this fight. Not a whole lot of sustain available for the jungler from the Niflheim Wolves. And Zarpay gets melted. Griff finds an opening, and that's going to be the first kill of the engagement. Preds gets caught out here, potentially rooted, and look at the hug. Down falls the support, and that's a double kill for the ADC.
You stalled too long, and now Moswell is back doing massive damage. Angry is still here to chunk this down, but Enhanced Fire Giant is getting burned. This could be a 50-50.
Connor stepping up, tries to get the hamstring off, and he's going to be successful. The Fire Giant's going to fall down, but so is Gino. That's a big cooldown up into the sky. Goes Arama looking to find some damage onto Angry. Not really too much, but Trelly, the first EFG of the game, falls at 36 minutes, and it's a 2-1 swing in favor of Wardens.
You only lose Enhanced Fire Giant on Gino. That's going to be a massive win for the Wardens. Looking again at the relics, pretty much everything was used by the Wardens to make sure they could get that. A few Aegises up, but besides that, not much to look at. If you're looking at the Wargs, they have some relics, but Enhanced Fire Giant on top of an Oni Fury, that's going to be what really makes your base look like a snack, essentially. The Wardens just have to walk in. They won't have to worry about backdoor protections unless you're Khepri, but you're probably not hitting the Phoenix if you're Gino anyway, so they've got a little bit of time to reset here, upgrade some relics, maybe get some power potions, and then we're going to see the first look at an actual Phoenix siege in this game.
Absolutely. No Trebuchets available for the Kaolin Wardens, though, so they're going to have a little less siege potential than they would with the Trebuchet.
Nope.
Nope.
I'm not going to address that, or I'm not going to agree or disagree, because I don't think a Trebuchet is in this game.
That's what they're called.
No, there's no such thing. And it looks like Angry will upgrade the Calamitous Rod of Tahuti. Not going to get too much value unless they can really CC a target and put them in one spot for quite a lot of time. The Oni minions are marching down the lane as we speak, and it looks like the Wards are staying grouped as 5, maybe trying to catch someone pushing out a little bit too far. Relentless One is sort of heading that way. There's no vision here, and it looks like they might go for an ambush.
It's going to be a really important moment for the Niflheim Wargs. Gino might have just seen Angry there, but Gino's going to walk around the corner. He definitely saw them, and that route is going to cause so many problems for the Niflheim Wargs. Look at the backline. Zarpay gets deleted by Relentless One after a beautiful, dazzling offensive, and now Pred's caught out by the dog. There's going to be called a good boy. Eat that snake, man.
That's what you pass it to me on. Griff goes in for the double kill as well. The Snake Man, he's gone, and now all that's left is King Arthur. They don't care about that tier 2 tower. They're going for this mid. Phoenix Kana is just going to take them on a merry little chase because he can't defend this base.
He's got to try and do something, but it's... Look at this, Trelly. 40 seconds is the nearest respawn timer, and that is going to be on Zarpay. And there's no way Connor is going to be able to save this Titan this time around. So the Niflheim Wargs will have to make their way back up through the losers bracket.
Griff goes 7-1 that game. Angry did about 40k as well. The carries of both of these teams were popping off. A 40-minute banger we just witnessed. 3 Fire Giants total. 1 to each team, and then the Wardens, they're able to close up the enhanced one, the one that matters the most.
It comes down to that group mentality. They were able to stick it through. They were ahead at the start. Wargs came back for a little bit there, but Wardens really able to hold on to that mental and drive this one home.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Moswell getting picked was pretty massive. The Wargs were still a little bit scared to pull that Enhanced Fire Giant, and then Moswell respawns, runs all the way back in, and they're like, I thought we got the big burst mage down. You
Yeah.
did. That was about a minute ago, and
Yeah.
he comes in big.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Niflheim Wargs are going to have to face their way through the loser side of the bracket. Meanwhile, the Wardens are going to find themselves only one set win away from securing themselves a spot in tomorrow's games. But we're going to have to see who their opponents are going to be after this.
Wardens able to keep their win streak alive here at SMITE Spring Masters. And of course, SMITE Spring Masters powered by our friends over at Alienware. Same with the SPL here in Season 9. Shoutouts to Alienware for being our title sponsor this year. All of our pros here in studio this week, and our SPL pros at home playing on the Alienware Aurora Ryzen 10 Edition desktop. You can get your hands on that and a whole lot more. Follow Alienware on Twitter and Instagram at Alienware, and then head over to AlienwareArena.com for giveaways and a whole lot more. Shoutouts to Alienware once again for being our title sponsor here in Season 9 of the SPL and at SMITE Spring Masters. Some Alienware power behind the Kaolin Wardens row here in Game 1 of 1, and the Wardens will move themselves onto the upper side with a performance in a game where the Wargs were able to find some pushback, but ultimately the Wardens and their strategy too strong.
Yeah, look, honestly, Wargs kind of, I was saying the whole narrative for them was that they were pushing into the late game with their draft, but then they flex and they put the Baron in support and they kind of flip the script and say, you know what, we're actually going to bring some early game to the table. They picked the King Arthur. They're able to actually shut down Sino very early in the game. They get a kill at like level 5 in the mid lane, and they stop him from snowballing and doing what he wants and calling those objectives. So they ended up, getting a Fire Giant each at the end, and then eventually it comes down to, I think Trelly said it on the cast, it was kind of a best of 3 Fire Giant, and eventually, yes, the Wardens do end up finding that one.
And so the Kaolin Wardens and their active play style able to roll things forward. The Ram ends up being another good pick here for Griff. Continues to be a strong pick for ADCs this weekend.
Yeah, my MVP for this match. I think his biggest, outstanding play this game was when he was able to just blow up Sarpei at one of those team fights, and that makes it much easier at a Fire Giant. When that jungler is off the table, your backline can do what they want, especially gods like a Rama and an Alpwash that need space to be able to do things. Fantastic for them. Look at this. Huge crit, before he can even react, really, and that's what wins them this fight for sure.
Yeah, Pred's just unable to fully get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and look, credit to Gino as well, putting those targets in front of him, and great ults that game too.
Yeah, Khepri continues to be such a strong pick. Not only, Scarab's Blessing, such an impactful ultimate on its own, but how many of these highlights for Griff start with just a very simple pluck from Gino, right? You get a root, you get an abduct, and then Griff is free and clear in the back line, just absolutely wailing away on the health bars. When you end a highlight real row with Griff at full HP in the backline the whole time, you get a pretty good idea of the way the game went.
Yeah, I almost feel bad saying Griff is the MVP there. When you look at it from his perspective, look what's in front of him. He's getting everything handed to him, and he's being protected at the same time.
Yeah,
so
but
look,
that's just the life of ADCs and mid laners, right? They get their name in the paper.
Thankless job, really.
But it's it's the offensive line in American football that really wins the day.
You're losing me with that one, but yeah, go on.
Right, but and probably 90% of our viewers as well.
Point.
But it tracks in my mind, and that's really what matters. Moswell had another fantastic game on the Outwash. Angry does do good late game damage here, 38,000 on the Baba Yaga. That's expected.
Yep.
You got these big AoE abilities. You're going to get some damage sort of no matter what on that pick. But again, this eclectic play style for the Wardens, and seemingly only the Wardens here in the last couple of days has been working out. And I'm intrigued, especially with the next two teams we've got playing, Hex Mambo and the Hounds, if one of those two teams is going to be able to challenge this Wardens play style.
Yeah, I think if anybody, it's going to be the Hounds. We saw Mambo yesterday, and they had a very slow game, very slow game plan, getting those Guardian solos up to level 20 and scaling into team fights. Whereas Hounds, they had some quality games against Gladiators and some, it was a slight fall in the Gladiators match before that for the best of one to start their day. But, they have a chance to redeem themselves now against Hex Mambo.
Yeah, Eldritch Hounds have picked up the pace a little bit. Hex Mambo qualifying out of our first day of play as well. And so the Kaolin Wardens will be playing against the winner of our next matchup, the Hounds. No, our second day of play, up against either the winner of the Hounds and the Hex Mambo Wargs. One best of 3 away from falling out of this tournament or progressing themselves a little bit later on. So look forward to our next matchup here, Ro. Hounds versus Hex Mambo. Just a best of 1. Again, not sending any of the teams home in that one. Do you have an early favorite going into our next set?
Look, Mambo have been known for being able to withstand that early pressure, which generally NA teams are known for. And if they can do that against a higher caliber NA team, which is, our Seed 1 NA team is the Hounds, so now is their real challenge before they get it to the SPL teams at least. So if they can withstand that early pressure and get to the point where they can, play their game and scale into the late game, if they want to run the double Hunter with the double Guardian, things like that, they might be able to get away with that. It's just it's just a matter of the fact that if they can get there, right? I think so far, Deathwalker's had the most success on, I would say. I mean, he had decent games on Hades, but I think the most success on things like Geb and Sobek. So if you can get those out, make them get to the late game, then they can have great success.
We've got one more best of one today to fill out the other two matches in our bracket. It is the Hounds versus Hex Mambo coming up next.